Hello and welcome to Regi's Recess, where you get real talk about real relationships. Of course, I am your host, Regi Rogers, renowned relationship coach, author, television host, radio host, podcast host, and I've got... I consider myself a singles empowerment coach. Now, when I say singles empowerment coach, my objective is to literally teach singles or empower singles what it means to become the one so that they attract. You know, breaking up really is so hard. Breakups are never easy for anyone. And so this month, we're going to be talking about It's Over, I'm Sick. So that was the thing that drew me to you, and I wanted to get some advice, some wisdom from you in regards to this dating process.
Yes.
I want to talk about it. Hello and welcome to Regi's Recess, where you get real talk about real relationships. Of course, I am your host, Regi Rogers, renowned relationship coach, #1 relationship coach, author, podcast host, television host. Again, I try my best to fill in all the spots and do as much as I can and while I can with what I have to do it with. Every month, we do a different topic. I always say I do my best to provide the best topics, the most provocative topics, and the best guests. So today I'm going to go solo, but I want to open up this month's discussion because many people are of the opinion that you can't help who you fall in love with. The person that you connect with is something that your heart chooses for you. Many people have that opinion. There are so many people that do not let the details of who they're dating and why they're dating that person, they don't let that come out because they're sometimes afraid or ashamed to talk about it because they're dating someone from another race. This month, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of interracial dating. There are many people that choose to date someone of a different race. And really, that's your prerogative. And so that's what we're going to discuss this month. I'm going to have guests on and we're going to talk about the pros and cons of interracial dating. I think this should be a great month. I think this would be a great topic. The pros and cons of dating. And those of you who are just tuning in and you're catching that, I'll have a portion of the show where I want to open it up to you to talk to us. I want to hear what your pros and what your cons are on interracial dating, and I want to hear if it's something that you currently do. Do you date outside of your race? So this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to take a commercial. We'll be right back after this commercial, and we're going to have an exciting show. It's going to be a great dialogue. The pros and cons of interracial dating.
I am Ernest L. Thomas from the Waldens, and you need to download the Win Network app now, or else it's gonna be tragic. Tragic!
You know, if you have not downloaded the Win Network yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. You got to download the Win Network. It's very easy. Go to winnetwork.com and just download it. You get to catch me every week, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Reggie's Recess. So if you have not downloaded it yet, what are you waiting for? It's tragic. So make sure you go get the Win Network. So we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of interracial dating. You know, in the past, interracial dating was not something that was acceptable, and nor did it incur or occur at a high rate in the past. So the topic of interracial dating is something that still incites a debate. And so I thought this would be very, very challenging to some, welcoming to others. But there are many people that view the topic of interracial dating from so many different viewpoints. So wanted to just open this dialogue up to you and see what you thought about it, because before you decide if interracial dating should be acceptable or if it is right for you, it is best that you are aware, to me, of both the pros and the cons, both the pros and the cons. And so, are there any pros? Are there any cons? Well, I'll just give you what I believe are the pros, and what I believe are the cons, because many people that have love for another are able to see past any differences that they may have in regards to color, ethnicity. Those in an interracial relationship have a difficult time seeing any downside, and those on the outside sometimes have a difficult time seeing the advantages. So, when you are more informed about the topic of interracial dating by learning about the pros and by learning about the cons, you have the ability to lessen the amount of prejudice and the stigma that is connected or that comes along with interracial dating. And again, if you're tuning in, if you're watching this, I want you to talk to me, chat with me, let me know what you feel and what you think about this topic or this subject of interracial dating. Maybe I may talk about some pros, and maybe I may not touch on the ones that you believe are pros, and maybe I may talk about some cons, and maybe I may not talk about the cons that you believe are cons. So we're going to just open this up to you today as we talk about this, and next week I'll have a guest on, and we'll talk about someone. We'll talk to someone who is actually in an interracial marriage, and then the next week we'll have someone who's dating someone interracially. So we want to mix it up and see how this works. But I think one of the pros of interracial dating is it allows you to be acceptant, to be acceptance, to accept, I should say. It allows you to accept a new culture, to be very acceptance of something that you may not be accustomed to. So it opens you up to accept the new culture. And one of the biggest advantages in an interracial relationship is the ability to learn more about a new culture. Culture, some things that we do or some things that I may do that she may not does, or some things that I will do she's never even heard of, or some things that she does that I've never even heard of, because it's a part of her culture, but it's not a part of mine. Or some things that I do that's a part of my culture that may not be a part of her culture if I'm in an interracial relationship. So it allows you to open up and be acceptant of a new culture. And when you only have relationships with people from your own culture, you do not expand your knowledge, and you're often less accepting of others. So I believe this is definitely a good thing. This is a pro. It's definitely not a con, because being in a relationship with someone from another culture ensures that you are exposed to something different. Now, that could be a pro, but that can also be frustrating because it's something that's so natural to you, and you're wondering why what you're saying or what you're experiencing, the other person is have a problem accepting it because it's so natural to you. So yes, it could be a pro, but then it can also be frustrating because it's so natural to you, but it's so unnatural to them. But if you're open enough to accept it, then it can be expansive because now you can expand and now become more well-rounded in another area or in something that you otherwise would not have opened up and expanded to. So it means that you have the ability to learn about and experience, whether it's foods, whether it's religion, whether it's music, because there's so much more from other cultures that we do not receive. We become limited sometimes into our own culture. But when we are acceptant of another and we're willing to expand in another area, then we can experience how different foods taste because we're open to experience that. We can experience maybe different religious beliefs. Doesn't mean that we have to be converted, but we can be open to experience different religious beliefs, not just religious beliefs, but also music. Because what I listen to is not the only thing that's out there to listen to. And what she listens to is not the only thing that's out there to listen to. So there's so much in regards that we can expand and open up to and be acceptant from one to the other. You see, stepping outside of what you know is good for just about any of us. When you step outside of what we know, it helps us to know more. It allows us to have a different perspective. So we look at things from a totally different perspective. And again, it makes us much more well rounded when we learn about other cultures. Now, if you just want to stay where you are, that's fine. It's not. I mean, it doesn't mean you're wrong. If you're happy being there, I'm just talking about the pros of and cons of interracial dating. Maybe interracial dating is not your thing. That's fine. But because I am a relationship coach, I want to try to talk and touch on as many subjects as I can because there are those who do date interracially. So I need to have some answers for those. So to me, the first pro is being acceptant of a new culture. Second pro to me would be it allows us to break stereotypes. I think that's very important. It allows us to be able to break stereotypes because interracial dating is also good because it helps us to chip away at some of the stereotypes that have been ingrained into society. It helps us to start to alleviate, chip away, and break those stereotypes. It allows you to show your partner that the negative stereotypes about your race are not true. Because when you show up and you give the best presentation of who you are, they will have to accept you for who you are. Now, and then when they get to experience you in totality in who you are and your best presentation of who you are, you're not trying to be anyone else. You're so comfortable in your skin being yourself, then they begin to say, "Oh my God, what I thought about this particular race is so untrue," because now they base it off of you. So it allows them to chip away at those stereotypes, whatever prejudices they may have had or whatever prejudices they may have held. You are now able to let them go, and now they don't have to be passed on into the next generation because you've now expanded your mind. You've opened your mind to now embrace another culture and to be open about what another culture represents. This means that you are helping to stop the cycle of stereotypical or stereotypes and racism. You play a part in that. And when you are accepting of others, it can sometimes help to make others around you more accepting. When you are accepting of others, it helps to make those around you more accepting, especially when you are an influencer. When you are an influencer, you have the ability to influence others. Well, what you begin to think and how you begin to open up, it helps them to begin to think differently. It helps them to begin to open up a tad bit differently. So, to me, pros are one, it helps you to be acceptance of another culture, but then two, it helps you to break stereotypes. Helps you to break stereotypes. Um, we're gonna go take a break. We're gonna listen to some music. We're gonna come back. I want you to chime in, if you will. Those of you that are listening to us on Facebook, we certainly appreciate you on Facebook Live today. If you listen to us on Facebook, hey, get in the chat with us. Talk to us. Let us know what you think about some of the pros and cons of interracial dating. I want to know what you think about interracial dating as a whole. Share it with us. Okay. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, some of you hear us tonight on 87.9 Heat FM Charlotte. We certainly appreciate you as well. Some of you will watch us on the Win Network. Of course, we certainly always appreciate you. And then some of you will be able to watch us on YouTube. Leave us comments. Let us know what you think about this topic. We're going to listen to some music and we'll be right back after this.
1, 2, 3.
Keep the picture. This could be me and you. Pull out your feelings. I know you want it too. Cause I got the feeling all in my bones. You're waking up the monkey with the gorilla trying to get you to moan. You look so good all by yourself. The way I see it, I think you're gonna need some help. And then we pop, go, the weasel does a weasel go pop. We can go pop. Love you like you need to be loved. Love you like you need to be loved. Like you need to be loved, baby. Love you like you need to be loved. Baby, baby. Love you like you need
Hey, we are back. Pop goes the weasel because the weasel go pop. We are back. And you're listening to Reggie's Recess, where you get real talk about real relationships. Of course, I'm your host, C. Reggie Rogers, and we are talking about the pros and cons of interracial dating. When we left, we looked at two pros of interracial dating, but I want to look at maybe some cons of interracial dating. And again, I want to hear what you have to say, what you think about it. If you're there, let me know. So, one of the cons that I think of interracial dating could be the family reaction. What does it, what will the family say? If your parents are still alive, you're probably concerned what will your parents think? What will your parents and say? And that's one of the biggest downsides of interracial dating is the reaction of those that are closest to you. You want to make them happy, and if making them happy is you dating somebody in the same race, then you have hesitation or trepidation about dating someone outside of the race because you're not quite sure what your family's going to think or what your family's going to say. Is it possible that many of your family and friends will not be as accepting as you are and probably will not be on board with you being in an interracial relationship with someone? Is that possible? Are there, because there are many people that still have prejudice and hatred for other races. And so maybe this becomes an issue that you don't want to disappoint someone who you think maybe there's still borderline prejudice, borderline racist, borderline there's some hatred for another race. So one of the cons is definitely the family reaction. If these people are in your inner circle, it can be difficult to have a healthy interracial relationship because every time you bring that person around them, you're uncomfortable thinking, what are they thinking? And then you're uncomfortable thinking what is going to be their reaction to something that's being spoken or something that has been said. So this could really turn into a huge problem. It will ultimately put a strain on your relationship with your family, with your friends, or with the person of another race that you are dating. So now you have the person you're dating feeling some kind of way, you have your family feeling some kind of way, you have your friends feeling some kind of way, and it just becomes a very unpleasant, uncanny, uncomfortable scenario. And I guess you have to ask yourself, do you really want that scenario to play out? Because dealing with a family that is not accepting can be very difficult. But not only can it be very difficult, it becomes a major burden. And that's extra added stress that's on you that you probably will think you don't really need to have. So that is a con. Many people that care about what others think are hesitant to get into a interracial relationship in the first place because you're too concerned about what others are thinking and you really care what others are thinking. So what others are thinking is put first than what you're thinking. You could be open and acceptant, but if you're more concerned about what others are thinking and what others are saying, then of course it's going to make you very hesitant because you always want to be in with your family, with your friends, and those in your inner circle. So that's a con, is the family reaction. Okay. But another con would probably be society. What is the societal thoughts on this? Because this is another big con to interracial um, dating. It's a backlash, a society backlash that might face the backlash that you face from society. Whenever you do something that is against the norm, you will have those that judge and question you. So this becomes a societal backlash because they're judging you And yet they don't even know you, but they're already passing judgment on you based off of the decision you decided to make. And so now, again, it brings stress to you because you're not only thinking about what your family's saying, you're not only thinking about what your friends are saying, your inner circle, but then you also have to be concerned with what is being spoken about you in society. So this is huge. All of these are things to take into to account. Um, you you have to really put a lot of thought into if you're going to date interracially. Um, Now, does it make it easier if maybe two people are of the same complexion, skin tone, complexion, but they're two different nationalities, but same skin tone? Does that make it easier? Or does it make it harder if two people are of two different skin tones, two different complexions, and yet they're trying to date? Is it easier? Is either way easier? Someone may be of an Asian ethnicity, but yet they have white skin tone, and someone may be of a Caucasian. Um, they may be Caucasian, and of course they have white skin tone. Does that make it easier? Compared to someone who may be of who may be an African American with, of course, a darker skin tone, and they're dating someone that's Caucasian? Or does is it easier if someone that has a darker skin tone who could be African American, maybe dating a Latino, which is darker complected? Is it ever easier? I want to know your thoughts. Does that make it a little easier? Because it means that you will be in the minority, and when you're in the minority, you're going to be judged in some ways. When you start dating outside your race, it puts you in the minority. Interracial dating is something that is becoming more common, I will say, yes, but it is still not the norm. And since it's still not the norm, that means society does often judge those that are different. Society has a way of judging those who step outside of what is considered the norm. Now, I know this is not an easy topic to talk about. I know this is not an easy subject to expound upon, but it's needed. And so we wanted to look at the pros. We wanted to look at the cons because, you know, family, it's important to all of us. But if I'm dating someone that I feel like I'm in love with, but my family isn't, how does that make me feel? How does that make you feel when you're dating outside of your race and you know that the person you're dating is not going to be received or accepted from those that you are closest to? So the first con is your family reaction. Second con then is the society, how society reacts. And then this is something else to consider. Another thing to consider is the children. Children. It is also important to consider how children that are involved in this scenario are affected. Let's say, for example, um, a white woman is dating an African American man, or we can even go an Asian woman who has children is dating a Caucasian man. So, how does the Caucasian's culture affect the Asian woman's children? How does that mesh? How does that mix? And likewise, how does the Caucasian woman dating the African American male, how does that mesh with her children? All of these should be taken into consideration because there are pros and there are cons to everything that we do in this life. So, all of these things you should begin to think about. Now, if you're the type of individual that says you've got broad shoulders, you think for yourself, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or says, and you don't see color, you see an individual, okay, that's all well and great. But you still have to take into consideration some of the pros and some of the cons with not seeing color but seeing the individual. There are some other nuances and some other dynamics that's going to come along with that. um and so I think that that's important, that you take all of this into consideration. Um, I'm not saying anybody is right or anybody is wrong. Everybody has preferences. And if you're sitting there saying, well, I don't date out of my race, hey, that's your preference. And if somebody else is sitting there saying, hey, I have no problem with dating out of my race, again, that's your preference, because I'm not trying to make someone right, nor am I trying to make someone wrong. And I know that there would be those that I heard that will talk and hear this conversation. And there are those who speak from a relationship standpoint, and they will only tell you to date within your race. They will only tell you that you need to stick within your race. Well, I'm not going to say that, because I don't think that one is right or one is wrong. But what I do think is everybody has a preference, and whatever your preference is, so be it. But I also think that there are other things that you have to take into consideration. However you decide, or whatever you decide, there are definitely pros and cons that you need to take into consideration. For example, I'm African American. I decide to date a African woman from Africa. Well, we're both dark complected. We both have dark complected skin, but still our cultures are different. So now I may not be accepted by her family because I'm African American and she's African. You see, all of this has to be taken into consideration. Yet, yet, we both have same complexion, but we have different backgrounds. And so, since we have different backgrounds, we may have different thought processes in terms of what we believe, in terms of our culture. So that could easily be a prejudice for two people who are of the same complexion. So prejudice, it runs rampant, and it goes beyond two different colors that are at odds with each other or against each other. We could be the same complexion and still yet have prejudices. So if you're in a relationship and it's interracial dating, there are some challenges. There will be some challenges. So for those who teach this, who are relationship coaches and teach that you should date within your race, I get it, because it alleviates some of those challenges. But if you're willing to accept those challenges, and if you're willing to go back to what I said, some of the pros are break the stereotypes. you know it allows you to accept new cultures if you're open and minded enough to embrace that. Hey, I think it could be great. It can be challenging, but it can be great because you're going to be able to chip away at what others thinks are stereotypical of one race compared to uh, another race. So you know what? I want to hear from you. If you're out there, shoot me a chat. If you're in the chat, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, certainly appreciate you watching me on Facebook Live today. Again, some of you will hear us tonight on 87.9 Heat FM Charlotte. We come on every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Charlotte, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, of course. So those of you that will hear us tonight on 87.9, we certainly appreciate you tuning in every week. Some of you watch us on Facebook. Give me some comments on YouTube. Give me some comments. Let me know what you think about this topic, interracial dating, the pros and cons of interracial dating. And so let me know what you think about interracial dating, the pros and cons. We're going to take a break. I want you to look at Sexy, Classy, Badassy. I want you to check that out, and we will be right back. Sexy, Classy, Badassy. It's all about you, ladies. Again, it's all about you that are 35 to 65 young. We want you to be a part of our sexy, classy, badass. Now we've got some breaking news that we haven't broke yet about sexy, classy, badassy. In the week coming, you're going to hear some breaking news about sexy, classy, and badassy. So we are just looking for 12 women, 12 young ladies, 35 to 65, to represent the first annual Sexy, Classy, Badassy calendar for 2022. But we've got some breaking news. You guys are going to love this news that we have in regards to sexy, classy, badassy. Are you confident? Are you competent? And are you comfortable in your own skin? So, we will break that news here in the next week. You don't want to miss it. So, stay tuned for that. Um, so we're back with interracial dating. Interracial dating. I want to know what you think about interracial dating. We've looked at the pros, we looked at the cons. Next week, I will have a guest on, and we're going to talk about it a little bit further. Somebody who lives this every day, someone who experiences it, the interracial dating aspects. But studies are starting to show that interracial relationships are becoming more and more accepted over time. So I guess we've made some headway, but when it comes to those pros and those cons, those are definitely something that we should think about, you know, because people are becoming more open. People are becoming more open. This younger generation, especially, are more open. Society's overall opinion on interracial relationships, I think, we've come a long way. We still have a long way to go. The media places a negative impact on society's view of this topic because media attention on interracial relationships has been viewed, and there was an agenda behind why the media had motivations for the different ways interracial relationships are portrayed. And so, but thank God, people are much more open. People have received it much more. And so I have a question. How do you discuss politics? That's really tough. Thank you, Nicole. That's really tough. How do you discuss politics? Because we all have our different view on politics. And there's an old saying, there's two things you typically don't want to discuss is religion and politics. I think the best way to do it is to be open to what somebody's political view is, and hopefully they're going to be open to what your political view is. Just like someone should be open to what your religious beliefs are as you're open to their religious beliefs. Doesn't mean that you may convert them or they may convert you, but yet you're open to accept and respect. I think that's the problem sometimes. People don't always accept and respect. And then when they don't always accept and respect, it turns into tension because you are explaining your viewpoint and yet they're stuck on their viewpoint. So then it turns into tension, but then it turns into frustration because your political viewpoint may be so far to the left than what theirs is, and there may be so far to the left than what yours is, or vice versa. And you're trying to have that conversation, and in your mind, you're saying they just don't get it. And the truth of the matter is, they may never get it. But I think the question then comes back to you: is it going to frustrate you enough that you want to keep it moving, or can you handle it that you'll stay in it and know that every time you guys have that conversation is going to present somewhat of a confrontation with that conversation? So that's a very, very tough one. How do you discuss politics? um, you can, one, stay away from it, or two, you can address it but know that there may be a riff that comes along with it because your political viewpoints may never match theirs and theirs may never match yours. So, do you want to remain in that situation? That's a question you got to ask yourself. Or do you want to continue onward and upward in a different situation where that doesn't present a problem? I hope that answers your question, but that is a very difficult one, and that's a great question. Thanks, Nicole. In fact, need to wish Nicole a happy birthday. Today is my sister's birthday. Those of you who joined us last week, um, she was on with me last week. So today is her birthday. Happy birthday. Have fun. Do something special today. All right. Enjoy this day. Um, Moving forward with interracial relationships, interracial dating. I do feel like I said, we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. We still have a long, long way to go. I'm going to take another break here. We're going to listen to another song. We'll be right back after this next song, and we'll continue on with this conversation.
It's where all the players hang at, the barking lot. Some of you call it the parking lot. However, we can catch them coming in or going out. Excuse me, miss. We try to get at it later, just so you can meet me at your house, your friend's house, the Waffle House. Anywhere but my house, cause I'm too cool for that. Can't send you flowers, can't buy you wine. So where do we go from here? I won't take you on a cruise around the world. So where do we go, my dear? It's like the more I don't give, the more you take. That makes me way too clean, way too cool for you. So where do we go from here? Vacation, separation, relocation. Way too can catch me posted, me and my dog Big Rob. So where do we go? Where do we go? If you allow me to drop this line on you, baby, I'll let you know where we can go, my dear. We'll take it slow and easy. Let's take it step by step, inch by inch, kiss by kiss. Vacation, separation, relocation. I'm sailing like a dolphin. Way too
Allow me to introduce myself, baby.
Hey, we are back with Reggie's Recess. Thank you for listening today. Those of you watching on Facebook Live, we certainly appreciate you. I guess the question is, hey, as he just says, where do we go from here? We're talking about interracial dating, the pros and the cons. And as the song said, where do we go from here? I think it's solely up to you. Where do you want to go from here with this? Because really, the decision is up to you. Nobody can make the decision for you but you. And so, where do you go from here? Next week, as I've already said, we're going to have someone in the studio with me. We're going to talk firsthand and candidly about interracial dating. Interracial dating. That's what we're going to talk about next week. I'll have my guest, and it should be fun. This should be a fun month. I think this is a very touchy subject. It can be a touchy subject for some. And a lot of times it's a subject that a lot of people don't like to touch at all. But we decided to plunge into this topic, talk about this topic, because again, let's discuss it. Let's have that conversation and let's see, where this conversation leads to. Um, One of the things that as I was looking at when I was trying to compile some data to have this topic or to talk about this topic is there was it said genetically. They said one of the pros of interracial dating, in particular in marriage, is when two individuals from different races create children. One of the things that they said is the results can be unique and beautiful. Why? Because the children inherit the best of each parent. If a woman is of a Swedish descent, she procreates with a Hispanic male. They may genetically create a child that has brown, tan skin, blue eyes, long, slightly wavy, brownish blonde hair. To sum it up, when races are combined, blended together, children can greatly benefit from it. But then on the other hand, every race has its own unique diseases and illnesses, ailments that are more prevalent in one race than in another one. These diseases and illnesses can be detrimental when combined together. Also, biracial children face an increased risk of developing diseases that are common, excuse me, in each individual race. So there are always pros and cons again, to everything. And so I guess you have to think things through, think it out, think it through, think it out, and see if it's best for you. Whatever is best for you, again, that becomes your preference. And nobody can be mad at you for your preference. They can try to be mad at you, but if that's what you prefer, then stick to your guns because that's your preference, okay? And I can't wait as this month continues to progress. I can't wait to have this dialogue. I can't wait. And then some of you may end up watching this late. Hey, leave me some comments. Let me hear what you have to say about this because I'd love to hear firsthand from you. Those of you who may catch this at a later time, let me hear firsthand from you. I want to know what you have to say about this topic. Now, if you're wondering how you can be a sponsor of Reggie's Recess, I'm going to show you how you can be a sponsor. Some of you are sitting there, Reggie, I really like what you do. I've always said I wanted to participate in terms of being a sponsor, but I've never taken the time to do it. Listen, take the time out today. Be a sponsor. I'm going to show you how you can be a sponsor of Reggie's Recess, and we'll be right back after this.
Hello, thank you for watching and being a friend to Reggie's Recess. We're on a mission. Our goal is to empower 1 million women. It costs a great deal of money to keep this mission moving forward. We have created a wonderful opportunity for our viewers and friends to align themselves with us so that we can achieve this goal. Please consider making a conscious decision to be a supporter and sponsor. We have 3 levels.
Silver at $100. You'll receive a C. Regi Rogers signature one-man-woman t-shirt. Gold at $250. You'll receive a C. Regi Rogers signature one-man-woman t-shirt and baseball hat. Platinum at $500, you'll receive a one-man woman baseball hat, t-shirt, a C. Reggie Rogers book, and workbook entitled Love at First Spirit.
For your gift to the show and C. Reggie Rogers' #1 relationship coach, you get a piece of the One Man Woman Tour memorabilia. Go to www.creggierogers.com, click on the link Sponsorship or Cash App, $CLOYDRODGERS. If you like our merchandise, you can actually order your t-shirts, hats, and books. Go to www.onemanwoman.com.
Make sure you get your merchandise by going to One Man Woman. And if you want to be a sponsor, make sure you go to creggierogers.com. There, you'll be able to click on the link that says sponsorship, and you can be one of our sponsors. We would love to have you as one of our sponsors. You have 3 levels there to pick from. Pick one of the levels. And as I said, we'd love to have you as a sponsor of Reggie's Recess, where you get real talk about real relationships. Got to send some shout outs to our producer, Steven Sebo. This is another action shot production. If you're in the market to get a video, if you're in the market to have some content created, if you're in the market for movie, if you're in the market for documentary, anything that has to do with videography, Steven's got you. So make sure you contact Steven Sebo, Action Shot Productions, and he will be able to accommodate you in anything that you need in regards to videography. Okay, check out Steven Sebo. Thank you. Always makes me look good. Always makes me sound good. So I'm very appreciative of Steven Sebo. If you guys want to see more, you get a chance. I am also on the Worldwide Jazz Radio. You could catch me Monday through Friday. Worldwide Jazz Radio.com. I'm on the Langston Carter Show, morning show, 6 a.m. to 12 noon. That's Reggie's Recess. Real talk, real relationships. I do 3 drops a day. So you get to hear one of those drops if you tune in to the Worldwide Jazz Radio. You can also catch us on Instagram and TikTok. That's right. I said TikTok. I was hesitant about doing TikTok, but TikTok is pretty fun. I guess, once you start to play around with it and learn some of the nuances of TikTok, you can catch me on TikTok as well. I'm still learning it. I've done a couple so far, so we'll start doing more and more on TikTok. You can catch us on TikTok as well as Instagram. So this has been a great show. Want to tune in all month. The pros and cons of interracial dating, the pros and cons of interracial dating. Here's my closing remarks to you, because interracial couples sometimes experience unique challenges, and they experience these unique challenges that are specific to their culture as well as their race. But the key to a successful interracial um, experience is being able to effectively blend cultural traditions, values, and belief systems together. In other words, the key component is being able to compromise. The worst thing that you can do is, if you're in an interracial experience with someone and you're dating someone interracial, is devalue or to degrade the other person's beliefs, the other person's values, the other person's race, or the other person's cultural practices. It is important to remember that your values and your practices and your beliefs are not better than someone else's. Placing your values and or your race above your person that you're seeing will only lead to the slow destruction of that connection. Hey, I'll be back next week. We're talking about the pros and cons of interracial dating. You guys have a great, great, great rest of the day. We'll be back next week.